Page 54, Money Can't Buy Everything. Now, I didn't cover anything on pages 52 and 53. That's pretty much up to you. You're just reviewing the note names and all that. And I leave it up to you to learn the note names. So you can do all that on your own, I think. If you have questions, you're free to ask. However, on page 54, we got some new stuff to talk about. They're introducing the sharp sign. They show it up above. Pound sign, number sign. Today's people would call it a hashtag. In music, it's a sharp. It simply means you raise the note up 1/2 step. I don't think we've had whole steps and half steps yet. Why can't they introduce that before they do sharps and flats? Okay, keep it simple. You raise the note one key on the keyboard, white or black. For instance, if I have an A, like they're showing, if I want an A sharp, I go up one note, white or black. That would be an A sharp. If I have a D, I want to go up one note. I want a D sharp, I go up one note, white or black. Okay, D sharp. If I have a B, and I want a B sharp, and yes, there is such a thing, I go up one note, white or black. And that's a B sharp. And then you say, nah, that's a C. Why don't they just say C? It's simple. Why do we need this? Well, it has to do with harmony and keeping everything kosher for the music theorists. And the harmony, sometimes in music, based on what's going on, a B sharp is what you need, not a C. Now, technically, a B sharp is not exactly the same pitch as a C. It's actually a little bit above. The reason is because the piano is tuned to a well-tempered scale, where this note is this note. Well, this note is kind of tuned halfway in between. Right? Not exactly right, but it's close enough. We seem to don't mind too much. As far as this goes, a C is also a B sharp. Well, every key on the keyboard actually has multiple names. So it's something else we get to deal with later in time. Don't mean to scare you away, because it all makes sense and we will get to it. Don't worry about none of that junk. Just know that a sharp goes up one note, white or black. And generally, when we're playing them, we will use the same finger. Not always, but for now, probably will. So if right here, if I wanted a C sharp here, I would use the 4th finger. Or if I wanted an A sharp, I would use the 2nd finger, because it's what's on the A. So just use the same finger that's on the white note for the black note. Same thing in the left hand, whatever it is. Keep it simple. We can get more complicated later on. There's plenty of time for that later. It gets back to the idea it's important that you do take the time to get this, because it is going to get more involved and more complicated later, and if you don't get this now, you'll be totally lost later. Of course, you don't have to quit and give up and say, I can't do this. You can always just go back through the book again and try it again, and you'll get more, you'll get better, and you'll get it eventually. So that's the sharp. You see in the first measure of this piece, you have a D, D, and a C sharp. The sharp comes right before the note. When we say it, we say the name of the note first and then that, but when you see it, the sharp comes first and then the note. So it's a C sharp, D. Third measure over, you have a B, B, A sharp, right? Then you have a couple more in there, and that's really how they work, and that's really all it is. It's not a big deal. Sharps just go up there. Now, there is a rule that applies: sharps, flats, and naturals. And I'll repeat this a few times. They apply from that point on in the measure for the rest of the measure. And that's it. Once you cross that measure line or that bar line, they're no good anymore. So in this piece, you have a C sharp in the first measure. If I had a C in the next measure, it would be a C natural, because that sharp doesn't apply anymore at that point. I will talk about that more because it's important. I'm going to add one more little thing on here just for fun. You will notice that there are no phrase markings in this at all, okay? But it has words. So you can, if you want, put in your own phrase markings according to the sentences or so forth in the words. Follow those and you'll be fine. Right at the beginning, money can't buy everything is a sentence in it, so that would be a phrase. You'd have a phrase over the first two measures. Then money can't make you a king, that's another sentence. That would be another phrase. So it's like, when I look at this, it's like every two measures would be a phrase because that's how the words go. So you could do that by putting in a little bit of silence in between the phrases. It says march time. I didn't play that march time. You have to imagine marching. Down, left, right, left, right. That's the speed that you would take it, okay? That's sort of what they're indicating. So with all that said, let's try this out and see what happens. 4/4 time. I'll give us 4 counts. G position. More or less. 1, 2, ready, go. 4, 4, 4. 4, 4, 4, 4.